Hi, this is Harry Butler with the Journal of Commerce here at the TPM 2013 conference in Long Beach, California. With me today are Steve Cernak, Chief Executive and Port Director from Port Everglades, and Jim Hertwig, President of Florida East Coast Railway. Welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you, Harry.
What kind of year would you say 2012 was for the Florida East Coast, Jim?
We had a good year. We saw strong volumes growth, double-digit revenue growth in both our carload and our intermodal segment.
And for Port Everglades?
It's equally as good as well. We've seen steady, consistent growth both in our container operation as well as in our bulk and break bulk cargoes.
And how about 2013? How's that shaping up for you?
The metrics are all strong and they're consistent with what we had last year, so we see consistent, steady growth.
And for FEC?
We actually started out very strong in the first 2 months of this year. It's been a very good January and a very strong February.
So there's been a lot of good buzz about the new intermodal container transfer facility that you two have worked on together. Why did FEC choose Port Everglades for that?
Well, Harry, we currently have a small 12-acre facility, and we handle about 100,000 lifts there a year. It's very constrained, and we knew we had to move. So we worked with Broward County, Port Everglades, and the state of Florida, and put together a public-private partnership where we're going to construct a 42-acre facility near Port Everglades, and it'll be a combination of $18 million from the state of Florida, $20 million from Broward County, and $35 million from the Florida East Coast Railway, of which $30 million of that is a very low-interest state infrastructure bank loan from the state of Florida.
So, Steve, why did Port Everglades take part in this, the ICTF?
We see it's one of our 3 cornerstone projects that we're embarking on going forward. We see it as supporting the growth that's occurring at the port and supporting our customers and allowing them to naturally grow their business.
What advantages does the new facility provide for Port Everglades customers?
The facility itself is as far as I know, the only one of its kind in that it handles both international and domestic cargo through separate gates. It will allow our shipping lines to bring in heavy lifts or export heavy lifts without having to repackage them on the port.
And Jim, the same question for you with regard to FEC's customers?
Sure. And as Steve mentioned, this is going to be a very unique terminal. This terminal facility will handle both international and domestic cargoes. What this does for the customers is it allows the density so we can build direct trains out of that facility that'll go right onto our main line and then go to places like Atlanta and Charlotte, which we service in 2 days, and Nashville and Memphis in 3. And of course, we can service 70% of the population overnight or within 4 days. So it's really going to be a benefit to the customers that come into Port Everglades.
Steve, how will adding the intermodal facility help you penetrate the markets for imports and exports from the port?
Our natural trade lanes are the north-south trade routes. So we're seeing a tremendous growth in the Central and South American markets. And with the widening of the Panama Canal, we see the ability to have a potential nexus where we have the north-south trade lanes intersect with east-west routes. So there's a possibility for additional growth in our operations.
And does FEC see an opportunity for growth from this as well?
Well, only to confirm what Steve's talking about, our international business grew at 7% rate last year. However, our business with Port Everglades grew at 18%. So certainly it's growing dramatically. As Steve mentioned, obviously today a lot of the freight is that north-south trade. But we see as the Panama Canal expands that a lot of Asia cargo will go through there, and it'll come into Port Everglades, and we'll be able to move that up our railroad to 70% of the population, being that Port Everglades is one of the first ports closest to the Panama Canal.
So aside from the ICTF, what other things is FEC doing for growth in its business?
Well, we have a lot of carload growth. That's our carload business where we continue to expand upon our industrial development. But we're also opening a South Florida logistics center and that will provide for transloading and warehouse and distribution about 1.5 million acres of distribution facilities.
And Steve, what other initiatives is Port Everglades pursuing to build its business?
I mentioned earlier that the intermodal facility was one of our 3 cornerstone projects. The other 2 being we are about to expand what's known as the Southport turning notch, and in the process create 5 additional berths. That will allow us to use our uplands more efficiently and allow the shipping lines to grow. The other cornerstone project is the deepening of Port Everglades Channel from 42 to 50 feet. I continue to work with the Corps of Engineers on that, and that's a project that I see being completed sometime in the 2017 timeframe.
And you know, this is very big because what's key to the ports, at least in my perspective, is population. And certainly South Florida and Central Florida, other than New York, is the largest population zone on the East Coast. So they have that, along with the fact that we'll be on dock rail, and as Steve just mentioned, 50 foot of water.
Well, thank you, Jim. Thank you, Steve, for joining me today.
Yes.
And thank you both for being bronze sponsors for TPM 2013.
Thank you, Harry.
Thank you.